Hey guys, what's up? So a few people have asked me to post a video explaining how I built my desk. And before we get to that, I just wanted to make a little disclaimer before we get started. At the time of making the desk, it didn't occur to me to record any video. I had a lot of pictures, but the pictures were from my HTC One M7, my old phone. So the quality isn't the best, and that's pretty much what I'm apologizing for in advance. The video should still serve its purpose. Anybody looking to do something like this can probably take a few things away from it. If you have any further questions, like always, just ask. So before I actually put anything together or had any idea of the materials I was going to use, I had an idea of what I wanted this to look like in my head. I used a simple paint program on my Mac to draw it up, and these are the pictures here of what I came up with. After coming across a website called IkeaHackers.net, it occurred to me that that would be a really good idea, actually, just to use and repurpose IKEA products. Everything at IKEA is modular, meaning you can literally pick big or small pieces, it doesn't really matter, from any item on the showroom floor. So if I wanted to buy, a panel, a single panel from this huge kitchen unit, I can do that. So basically, that's what I did. I purchased 4 closet doors from a unit called Besta Tofta, I believe it's pronounced. Each door set me back $50, and that's what I used to make the majority of this desk. The only other big item that I purchased from IKEA was from the Linnmon collection. It's a tabletop. I used that in conjunction with one of the doors to create the desk's surface, the actual workspace. All I really did there was use some wood glue and some screws to attach the two together. Now, I did have to cut the tabletop to size so it would match up with the closet door that sat on top. The depth of these two pieces were the same, both 24 inches. The length of the table, though, was a bit longer, so just using a circular saw and a melamine blade that I purchased for like $30, I ended up with some really nice clean cuts. You can use vinyl iron-on trim for cabinetry and stuff like that to finish the cut edge of these pieces that you're going to be working with. Now, to build the shelving and the monitor hutch, all I did was cut the remaining 3 doors down the center long ways, which gave me 6 strips about 12 inches wide and the same 75.5 inches in length. Before I began cutting, I was really nervous about chipping or cracking this glossy finish that I just spent all this money on. So I did a lot of research on how to cut this particular material. And there's a lot of suggestions out there, but in the end, all I really did was use the same circular saw and melamine blade. I opted to cut with the finished side up and covered the base plate of the saw with some painter's tape so it wouldn't scratch up the door's surface. I cut very slowly and let the saw do most of the work, and the end result was some pretty clean edges. Now, the bottom shelf is made up of a few things. To start with, I used one of the panels that I had cut and attached 8 4-inch Capita legs. They're screw mounted on the underside of the shelf, and the whole thing just rests on top of the desk. You can pick these legs up in different shapes and sizes, and they're pretty cheap. For all 8, I think it ran me like $25. Now, after I had the shelf put together, I realized that I wanted it to more closely resemble the desk, where it had this thicker 2-piece look, with that seam running across the center. So I found this PVC molding at Home Depot. They came in 8-foot strips. I bought a few of them and just cut them to size. I used one of them, attaching it with some white epoxy and a few clamps to the shelf. And after letting it sit for a few hours and then cleaning up any excess epoxy with a wet rag, I was really happy with the look. I also added a strip of LEDs to the bottom of the shelf, mostly for aesthetics, but I also didn't want a desk lamp. The light is bright enough to illuminate the work area so that I'm able to see what I'm doing when the lights are off in the room. I used some high-strength 3M double-sided tape to attach it to the shelf and ran the power cable to the back of the desk. Now, there's a lot of options out there as far as LED lighting. I found this kit on Amazon for like $30. It comes with 16 feet of lighting and is controlled with a remote. I've had them for over a year now, and they're excellent. I've had no problems with them at all. Now, the final thing I did with this shelf was make 2 cutouts for the monitor arms using a spade drill bit. In order to clean up the edge of the holes, I decided to cut a sliver of PVC pipe and glue that to the inside. I could have just painted it, but I thought it would have more of a finished look this way. Incidentally, the monitor arms I'm using are from Ergotech. They're fully articulating, spring-loaded, heavy-duty arms. They're not bad, though I'd recommend looking for something else if you plan on moving your monitors all over the place and often. These are good for the occasional shifting, but the hex bolt setup they have isn't really meant to be constantly moved about. Okay, so moving on to the sides of the monitor hutch, I again used 2 panels from the doors I cut earlier. I shortened them a bit this time. They now stand at 64 inches tall. This is so I wouldn't end up with a lot of empty, unused space between my screens and the top shelf. As you can see, I framed out both sides with more of that PVC molding, giving me a place to screw into when attaching the top 2 pieces along with the back panel. This was just a matter of measuring and marking where I wanted things to be. The hutch is attached on both sides to a small piece of trim mounted underneath. This way I could remove it if I needed to and not have any damage done to the actual desk. And to keep the whole thing looking neat and clean, I use these little caps that I found. They do a really nice job of hiding the screw heads. You just slide them under the screw and just snap the top closed once they're in place. I'm pretty sure you can pick them up at any local hardware store. Now, after putting the last 2 pieces in that made up the top of the hutch, my next task was to get the back panel on. The back piece is what was going to straighten everything up and make the entire unit really rigid. I went back and forth on what material I was going to use. Should I do something thick and heavy, or should I go thin and light? I was toying around with the idea of mounting the monitors to the back instead of having them come up from the desk. But honestly, in the end, I just went with what was simple. I ended up using an 1/8 inch thick sheet of laminated fiberboard. It's the same stuff you probably have on the back of some of your TV stands. Now what I did was buy 2 8x4 foot sheets of this stuff, then cut them both the length of the desk. And then I cut them the other way so they wouldn't quite meet up with each other once I had them attached. This way I'd have a thin slit running the length of the desk that I could feed my cables through to the back. So the idea here was obviously to leave the front of the desk looking as clean and clear as possible. I just had to make sure that the slit that ran across was right in line with the desk so it wouldn't be visible when you looked at it head on. And that's really about it for the actual construction of the desk. Just really quick, here's a look at the infrared controller for the LED light that I have mounted on the back panel, and also a USB 3.0 hub that I have hidden away behind the desk. I also have a standard power strip screwed into the bottom. It comes in real handy from time to time, but the real purpose of it is so I can control my left and right monitors with a single switch. Then lastly, on the top of the desk, I mounted a 5-port fast charger for charging my devices. I just used some double-sided tape to secure it to the side panel so it wouldn't move around when I was using it. Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope it was helpful, and again, if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to ask. You can always see more of this project on IkeaHackers.net, as well as on my Google Plus page. Both will be linked in the description below. Till next time, I'm Mike, and this was Novatech. Thanks for watching, everybody.